मन्दो गुरुपदगंज कृपा सिंधु नररूप हरि महामोहतं पुंज जासुवचन रविकर निकर बंदा सीताराम जी पद सकल सुमंगल मूल तास नाम बरनौ कछुका जो मो पर अनुकूल श्री राम नाम को रसिक जे तिन पद रजमम शीश गणपति हनुमान शुका सनकादिक हीश विधि नारद प्रहलाद ध्रुव व्यास घटज कविराय लोमश गरुड़ भुषुंड भृगु याज्ञवल्क्य भरद्वाज श्रीवाणी गिरिजादित्य जीव चराचर छोड़ राम नाम जिमि सरस प्रिय तासु चरण सिर मोर श्री राम नाम को कही सकै जानि सकै को गाओ यथा सिंधु खग चोच भरी त्रिपित धाम नहीं पाओ सियावर रामचंद्र की जय. Good evening, everyone. Today we are going to build some astronomical foundations which are needed for understanding the topics that we have been discussing till now in even further detail. Jai Shri Ram Dipati. So everything starts with the motion of the sun, the earth, and the moon. Okay, the motion of sun is almost imperceptible because sun is the center of the solar system and its proper motion cannot be seen within the frame of the solar system. It becomes very, very difficult to see the proper motion of sun. So for all practical purposes, we consider that the sun is there and everything else is rotating around the sun. So one is sun, that is the center of this three body problem. The second is earth and the third is moon. Okay, moon is essentially a satellite to earth, just as the earth rotates around the goes around revolving around the sun while rotating on its own axis. Similarly, the moon also goes about revolving around the earth. Okay, now we are all talking about revolving bodies, right? What is the first revolving body that comes to our mind when we think about revolving bodies? It is the spinning top. लट्टू नचाया होगा ना सबने. So लट्टू देखो, till the time the top is rotating straight, it's like a perfect body. बहुत अच्छे से नाचता है. But the moment you tilt it a little bit, everything starts to change. Right? It starts carving a cone around its axis. एक छोटा सा कोन उसके एक्सिस के अराउंड बनाना शुरू करता है. The axis itself that is formed slowly sweeps out a cone. जैसे जैसे होता जाता है ना, थोड़ा उसका पोजीशन चेंज होता जाता है. क्यों? Because gravity, it pulls it vertically downward. Okay, on the tilted top, trying to topple it. So gravity is trying to topple it, but because the top already has angular momentum from spinning, this gravity is not able to topple it. Instead, the force gets redirected. How does it get redirected? It gets redirected perpendicular to both the spin axis and the gravitational pull. So the gravitational pull is downwards and the spin axis is actually like this. So perpendicular to that is the vector that comes into play. Our earth is very similar to that. It is almost similar to a spinning top. Okay, and because it is almost similar to a spinning top, there are a lot of things that change. We all have listened, understood, learned from our very childhood days that the earth is tilted on its axis by around 23.44 degree. Approximation में हम लोग उसको 23.5 डिग्री बोल देते हैं, almost 23.5 degrees. Now that tilt causes many things. One, the seasons. Had the earth been perfectly all right, straight, ऋतुएं नहीं बदलती, दिन रात का जैसा हिसाब होता है वैसा नहीं होता. Many things would change. Just because of this tilt, a lot of things happen. And because of this tilt, the entire geometry of this three body system undergoes a perfect change. Now this change of geometry has a lot to do when it comes to actually understanding our astronomy and therefore astrology, because all astrology ultimately derives from astronomy. गणित बहुत जरूरी पार्ट है ज्योतिष का, बिना गणित के ज्योतिष नहीं होती, गणित से ही तो सब कुछ शुरू होता है. So today I am trying to build in very simple manner, in a manner which will be hopefully understandable to everyone, the mathematics that goes behind this all. Is the slide visible? Okay.
Yes.
So the first thing to know is the axial tilt of the earth. The what you see here as N is the north pole, here as S is the south pole. Okay? The north pole and the south pole, this is tilted. So if we make a x axis and a y axis, then the earth is like a tilted top. ये घूमता हुआ लट्टू है, टेढ़ा है. When the top is actually spinning, it spins like this, right? It is slightly bent. Earth is also slightly bent. There is an axial tilt of about 23.44 degree, which we have approximated here to say 23.5 degree. Okay? This point is clear. No problem there when it comes to the axial tilt of the earth. Now, next, अब इसको आगे बढ़ाते हैं. What I have done here, keep the earth at the center. Look at this diagram very closely. What is happening here? And you will be able to understand a lot of things. Keep the earth at the center. The earth's tilt is what you can see here. This is the north pole. This is the south pole. Now, imagine a huge sphere surrounding the earth going infinitely extending into the universe. पृथ्वी को एक हमने पृथ्वी जो गोल है उससे चारों तरफ एक बड़ा स्फीयर इमेजिन कीजिए जो इन्फिनिटी में जा रहा है. इमेजिन अ स्फीयर विद अर्थ एट द सेंटर गोइंग आउट टू इन्फिनिटी. इज दिस क्लियर? सो दिस इज अर्थ एंड दिस स्फीयर गोज आउट इनटू द infinity. Now, because the earth is tilted, the equator is tilted. Since the earth is tilted about 23.5 degree along the y-axis, therefore the equator is also tilted. This is clear? क्योंकि इक्वेटर जो है वो नॉर्थ पोल और साउथ पोल को बराबर में बांटता है. Because it divides the north pole and the south pole equally, therefore the equator is also tilted. Now this equatorial plane, this also you extend in the infinitely in the same sphere. ठीक है, हमने एक बहुत बड़ा बॉल इमेजिन किया अर्थ के चारों तरफ जो बिल्कुल नक्षत्र मंडल में चला गया. इट हैज गॉन टू द नक्षत्र मंडल, इट हैज गॉन डीप इनटू द स्काईज. ओके, so the north pole, it extends into a point that we call the celestial north pole. The south pole, it extends into the point called the celestial south pole. This is clear? मेरा नॉर्थ पोल और साउथ पोल सेलेस्टियल नॉर्थ पोल और सेलेस्टियल साउथ पोल हो गए. सेकेंड, माई इक्वेटर इज अ प्लेन एसेंशियली, राइट? मैंने इसको थोड़ा बेल्ट जैसा दिखाया ताकि समझने में आसान हो डायग्राम में, बट दिस इज अ प्लेन. प्लेन मतलब क्या? जैसे ये किताब की सतह है, ये प्लेन है सीधा, ऐसा ही एक प्लेन है. डिस्क, इमेजिन अ डिस्क, जो हम लोग डिस्क फेंकते हैं ना, इमेजिन अ डिस्क, दैट इज अ प्लेन. सो इक्वेटर इज लाइक अ डिस्क. इस डिस्क को भी वी एक्सपैंडेड इनफाइनाइटली इन स्पेस, ओके, ऑन द सेलेस्टियल स्फीयर. सेलेस्टियल स्फीयर is the large sphere around the sun that we made. So when we expand it infinitely on the surface of the celestial sphere that we have created, it becomes what we call a celestial equator. समझ में आ गया? So एक तो मेरा इक्वेटर है अर्थ का. When I expand that equator to project into the celestial sphere, we can call it celestial sphere, celestial equator. ठीक है? So this is celestial equator. Now from earth I see the path of sun around earth. अब देखो दो चीजें हो रही. Earth is moving around the sun. Since earth is moving around the sun, it appears that the same path appears to be the path of sun around the earth. वही रास्ता है ना. अर्थ से देखोगे तो the same path from where we see earth moving around the sun is seen from earth as the path on which sun moves around the earth. ओके, इस पाथ को हम एक्लिप्टिक कहते हैं. एक्लिप्टिक को भी आप बिल्कुल फैला दो आकाश में. एक्सपैंड द एक्लिप्टिक आल्सो इनटू द सेलेस्टियल स्फीयर. क्लियर? एनी डाउट्स है? ऑल क्लियर? सो व्हाट वी आर डूइंग, वी आर expanding and expanding and expanding. We are expanding into the celestial sphere, everything. So what are the three bodies? We have ecliptic, celestial equator, north celestial pole, south celestial pole. Fine. We can similarly have the meridians also extending. हमारा प्राइम मेरिडियन भी हम यहाँ पे एक्सटेंड कर सकते हैं. व्हाट इज प्राइम मेरिडियन? प्राइम मेरिडियन इज दिस लाइन फ्रॉम नॉर्थ पोल टू साउथ पोल दैट यू सी हियर. That is the prime meridian, the central line that you see. So prime meridian also similarly we can extend, and all the great circles can thus be extrapolated into the celestial sphere. This point is clear? Okay. अब मजा क्या होता है? When you expand it all, you find that what do you find? We find something very interesting. अगर वो नहीं होता तो एस्ट्रोलॉजी करना बहुत मुश्किल होता. What do we find? That this ecliptic is also a plane, right? मैंने बेल्ट बनाया. अब ecliptic को बेल्ट में कन्वर्ट करो. This path of sun around the earth, apparent path of sun around the earth that we call ecliptic, add 9 degree both side. 9 डिग्री कैसे करोगे? So this point, this center से यहां से एक 9 डिग्री लाइन आ जाएगा एंड यहां से एक 9 डिग्री लाइन, दोनों तरफ ऊपर. If we add a 9 degree line, it creates a belt like this. You see this belt that I have written as zodiacal belt, zodiac belt or ecliptic belt. The funny part, the interesting part, the beautiful part, the great testament to the symmetry of nature is that once you do it, all the nakshatras, all the grahas, everything can be seen to be there on this belt. Are you getting me? Everything that we are interested in astrology, all the nakshatra, therefore all the zodiac signs, that is Rashi, and all the grahas from Surya, Chandra, Guru, Mangala, Buddha, Shukra, all the grahas that we use in astrology, they are found in this zodiacal belt the moment you have expanded it all. Simple ho gaya na life. So I have to look in that infinite sphere that I see from the earth only in a belt of 18 degrees. सोचो 18 degrees belt तो इतना मुश्किल लगता है. What if I had to take care of the entire 360 degree? तो भगवान ने ऐसी सिमेट्री फिट की है that of the entire 360 degree, you have to look at only and only 18 degree. Could there be anything more beautiful? Could there be anything more beautiful than nature? How beautifully all of it fits together in a simple belt that we call as the zodiac belt. Now in this belt, what happens? We define one point on the nakshatra mandal. And we say this is what we consider as the beginning of my zodiac, the beginning of Rashi, the beginning of Mesha, which is Aries. Okay, हमने कहा अब मैं सिर्फ एक ही पकड़ूंगा और उसको मेष का प्रथम बिंदु मानूंगा. तो क्या माना? उस पॉइंट को, दैट पॉइंट वी एक्सप्लेन एज Ashwini 1. Can you see Ashwini 1? This is the 0 degree sidereal Aries. Sidereal means सायन, जिसे हम जो गणना करते हैं शायन गणना. Okay, the sidereal meaning, which means that I am counting the zodiac from, नहीं कुछ नहीं है. नॉर्थ ऑफ इक्वेटर हमारे all the grahas in the solar system are actually found in the zodiac itself. There are of course other distant galaxies and all, but for the purposes of astrology, whatever we need to know, we find here. And it is actually intuitively clear. This is the answer to Guru Vishnu, who has asked this in question. See, every planet in the solar system is under the influence of the sun, right? It cannot go too far from the gravitation of the sun. That is why it has to be near the belt of the sun's motion. That is why it has to be near the ecliptic. और हमने, we have taken only the fixed stars which are nearer, which can be seen in this belt, which we call as nakshatra. तो नक्षत्र जो हो गया मेरा, वो वही तारे हैं जो कि मुझे इस मंडल में स्पष्ट रूप से दिख जाते हैं. So I'm sorry. One point has been fixed as Ashwini 1. उसका मतलब क्या होता है? Year after year, Ashwini 1 will be the same point. There will be very little change to my zodiac. Why? Why is there very little change to my zodiac? Because the star is so far away, so many thousands of light years away, there is very little to zero proper motion. Proper motion का मतलब क्या है? Even seen through thousands of years, you will not find even an arc minute of difference in the position of these stars. तो मुझे फिक्स्ड स्पॉट पॉइंट्स चाहिए ना अपना जॉडियक फिक्स करने के लिए, अपनी राशियां फिक्स करने के लिए. सो अश्विनी से मैंने शुरू किया, अश्विनी से शुरू किया, अश्विनी टू 30 डिग्री, अश्विनी 0 डिग्री, वहां से 30 डिग्री बढ़ा दो, दैट इज माय एरीज. फ्रॉम दैट पॉइंट टू मोर 30 डिग्रीज, दैट इज माय टॉरस. दैट पॉइंट टू मोर 30 डिग्रीज, दैट इज जेमिनी, एंड सो ऑन. Okay, so on a 360 degree belt we have very clearly defined what the planets are. प्लैनेट का जब एक्सॉल्टेशन और डेबिलिटेशन होता है निशांत जी, तो क्या होता है? वो एक साइन में आता है. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, जुपिटर इज सेट टू गेट एक्सॉल्टेड इन कैंसर एंड डेबिलिटेटेड इन कैप्रिकॉर्न, बट कैंसर एंड कैप्रिकॉर्न बोथ ऑफ देम आर इन द एक्लिप्टिक बेल्ट ओनली ना. तो बेल्ट को कैसे क्रॉस करेगा? वो बेल्ट में रहेगा. एवरी सिंगल डे दिस एंटायर zodiac it seems to rise in the east and set in the west. All the signs they seem to rise in the eastern hemisphere and set in the western hemisphere. और जो ग्रह जहां होता है, समय के साथ दिन में आकाश में जैसे जोडियक घूमता है, हमें वहां दिखता है बिकॉज ऑफ द रोटेशन ऑफ अर्थ एंड द रेवोल्यूशन ऑफ अर्थ. उस वजह से हमें वो दिखता है. सो नथिंग क्रॉसेस द बेल्ट, एब्सोल्युटली नथिंग. पूरा आकाश गंगा अगर आप देखोगे तो आकाश गंगा इज एंटायरली फ्रॉम नॉर्थ पोल टू साउथ पोल. द मिल्की वे हैज द स्ट्रेच. ऊपर आप जाएंगे तो सप्तऋषि मंडल जो आपको मिलता है, दैट सप्तऋषि मंडल, द ग्रेट बियर एंड ऑल दैट इज सीन ऑन द नॉर्थ पोल. बट व्हाट वी सी फॉर द पर्पसेस ऑफ आवर एनालिसिस, ऑल द प्लैनेट्स इन द सोलर सिस्टम, एवरीथिंग इज फाउंड ऑन दिस बेल्ट. ओके, दिस पॉइंट इज क्लियर. Now, how is it different from the so-called, that is nature? Nature has decided plus minus 9 degree. We don't know why it is decided, but when you learn spherical trigonometry, the bound is set. The bound is set by the gravitational pull of the sun itself. The gravitational pull of the sun and the relative masses of the different bodies in the solar system ensure that plus minus 9 degree to the ecliptic becomes the bound. But that is not the same from the equator. इक्वेटर से थोड़ा ज्यादा हो सकता है ना कंपेयर टू एक्लिप्टिक. अगर हम किसी पॉइंट पे देखें, अगर आप ये ड्राइंग ही देखें, तो सपोज लेफ्ट साइड में इफ इट इज टू द लोअर साइड अ पर्टिकुलर प्लैनेट, तो इक्वेटर से तो 23 डिग्री प्लस 9 डिग्री अप टू 32 डिग्री तक जा सकता है ना. ओके, सो दैट कैन हैपन, बट वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट एक्लिप्टिक. फ्रॉम द पाथ ऑफ द सन it will always be within plus minus 9 degree. Clear? Everyone is clear on that part? Now, how does it differ from what we call as tropical zodiac or what is used by Western astrologers? For example, all of you must have read Linda Goodman. ठीक है, लिंडा गुडमैन में 22 जुलाई को लियो स्टार्ट हो जाता है ना. हमारे यहाँ लियो सन साइन में सन टिपिकली गोज अराउंड व्हेन 14th of August. ठीक है, 22nd March is when Aries starts typically as per Linda Goodman. बट हमारे यहाँ बैसाखी कब होती है? 14 अप्रैल के आसपास होती है, राइट? तो वी हैव अ डिफरेंस ऑफ ऑलमोस्ट 22 डेज. आर यू रियलाइजिंग इट? ऑलमोस्ट 21-22 डेज का डिफरेंस रहता है. हम पीछे चल रहे हैं, एंड दैट इज बिकॉज ऑफ द प्रिसिशन ऑफ इक्विनॉक्सेस. क्यों? बिकॉज इन वेस्टर्न जॉडियक यू सी द वर्नल इक्विनॉक्स. हियर आई हैव रिटन वर्नल इक्विनॉक्स और वसंत संपात. ठीक है, जिस दिन से वसंत आता है, वर्नल इक्विनॉक्स और स्प्रिंग इक्विनॉक्स, दैट हैपेंस अराउंड 22nd ऑफ अप्रैल. जिसके बाद समर शुरू हो जाते हैं आपके वेस्टर्न हेमिस्फीयर, नॉर्दर्न हेमिस्फीयर में, और विंटर शुरू हो जाते हैं आपके सदर्न हेमिस्फीयर में. ओके, सो ऑन द डे ऑफ द वर्नल इक्विनॉक्स दे टेक द एग्जैक्ट पोजीशन ऑफ द सन ऑन द जॉडियक, और वहां से वो जॉडियक मिलाते हैं. They put from that position. So every year there is a precession that happens, a few seconds. Okay, there is a about 50.278658 second per year, the zodiac moves backwards because the सन की पोजीशन थोड़ी आगे जाती है. तो हमारा पोजीशन क्योंकि फिक्स है, हमारा पोजीशन थोड़ा पीछे चला जाता है. And why does this happen? Why does this precession happen? It happens because of the massive gravitational force of four bodies largely, Sun and Moon primarily, and then Jupiter and Saturn. Because of which the Earth is not a perfect sphere but oblate spheroid. तो जैसा मैंने बताया था, perfectly spinning top. The moment gravity pulls it, वो एक कोन कवर करता जाता है, एक चेंज होता जाता है. About 26,000 years it takes for the zodiac to completely shift one sign. 30 डिग्री और पीछे आ जाता है. तो आज हम जैसे 22 पीछे है ना, हम लोग लगभग 22 दिन पीछे. आज से 26,000 साल बाद, आफ्टर 26,000 years विल बी 44 days behind. हमारा मेष 44 साल बाद में होगा. तो कालिदास जब बताते हैं कि उस समय बसंत तब होता था जब सूर्य इस नक्षत्र में जाता था, ये कालिदास की रचनाओं में मिलेगा. कालिदास राइट्स लाइक दिस, मेनी पोएट्स राइट लाइक दैट, वाल्मीकि राइट्स लाइक दिस, wrote like this कि when Ram went to Vanvas, this was the nakshatra position. Then on the basis of calculation of precision of equinoxes, we can actually date those times. अच्छा, Kalidas wrote this about 1500 years back. Ramayana was written about 8,000 years back. Okay, we can date it on the basis of this precession of equinoxes that is happening. I hope this point is clear to everyone. अब और देखो, for example, suppose Jupiter. This is where Ashwini is starting, and this is how we are moving on the belt. So this is the sidereal longitude of Jupiter. जितना भी है, ये that yellow arrow that you see, this is the sidereal longitude of Jupiter. What is the tropical longitude of Jupiter? It will be more, because it will start from vernal equinox. Clear? ये नीचे का arrow, red arrow देखिए, tropical longitude of Jupiter. It is starting from vernal equinox going to the same point. So the longitude is more. So हमें क्या करना होता है? We have to subtract a particular odd number. जब हम उस नंबर को सब्ट्रैक्ट कर देते हैं तो ayana-calana, the difference in precision that has accumulated from the beginning of the epoch. What is the beginning of the epoch? This is a word that you will hear a lot. What is the beginning of epoch? The beginning of epoch means Varahamihir notes a particular date and time when the vernal equinox and the sidereal zodiac they intersected. मतलब पहले क्या था, हम लोग आगे थे. उस डेट टाइम बारामीर ने लिख दिया, and some western astrologers also wrote down. On the basis of that the calculations are done. लेकिन फिर उसमें भी झमेला है, exactly कुछ difference of opinion है in different सिद्धांत ग्रंथ. That is why there is a slight difference in opinion on which is the Ayanamsha to use. ठीक है, अयनांश कौन यूज करना है उस पे इसीलिए डिफरेंस ऑफ ओपिनियन हो जाता है, क्योंकि वी लाइक टू सी व्हाट इज एक्चुअली हैपनिंग. हमें उस एपॉक से स्टार्ट करना है. वारामीर ने जब कहा तब से हम मान लो शुरू करते हैं, तो अभी क्या है, दैट इज हाउ इट इज कैलकुलेटेड. आई आल्सो गिव यू अ ब्रीफ आइडिया ऑफ द कैलकुलेशन गोइंग फॉरवर्ड, वो मैं आपको दिखा दूंगा. नाउ लेट अस अंडरस्टैंड द इम्प्लीकेशंस. अर्थ्स रोटेशन इज फ्रॉम वेस्ट टू ईस्ट. ओके, वेस्ट टू ईस्ट का मतलब क्या होता है, काउंटर क्लॉकवाइज रोटेशन है ना. वेस्ट टू ईस्ट काउंटर क्लॉकवाइज होगा ना, या क्लॉकवाइज होगा? काउंटर क्लॉकवाइज होगा. ईस्ट टू वेस्ट क्लॉकवाइज होता है ना. हाँ, काउंटर क्लॉकवाइज रोटेशन होता है. अर्थ रोटेट्स वेस्ट टू ईस्ट. दिस इज कॉल्ड प्रोग्रेड मोशन. प्रोग्रेड मोशन, ठीक है. नाउ implications is, इसकी वजह से क्या होता है, because earth rotates from west to east, all celestial body along the ecliptic. It is important to note, हम लोग सब कुछ ecliptic पे देख रहे हैं ना. Along the ecliptic everything seems to move from east to west. So everything rises in the east and everything sets in the west. हम अगर आगे जाते हैं, if we are in train going forward, everything seems to go behind, right? Go backwards. So because of this motion, we feel that everything rises in the east and everything rises in the set. सूर्य ले लो, कोई भी ग्रह ले लो, इस तरह से होता है, except when the motion becomes retrograde. So retrograde हम पढ़ेंगे, prograde when it is with the motion of the earth, retrograde when it seems to go against the motion of the earth, तब उल्टा हो जाता है, तब पश्चिम से उदय होकर पूर्व में अस्त हो जाते हैं, दैट इज इट सीम्स टू राइज इन द वेस्ट एंड सेट इन द ईस्ट. क्यों होता है वो भी हम समझेंगे आगे की कक्षाओं में, व्हेन वी टॉक अबाउट रिट्रोग्रेड मोशन एंड द साइंस बिहाइंड रिट्रोग्रेड मोशन. ठीक है, ओके. This is the precession we have already talked about. Essentially, slow conical motion of Earth's rotational axis caused by the gravitational pull of Sun and Moon and Jupiter and Saturn. Jupiter, Saturn मैंने यहाँ पे इनके आपको ग्लिप्स बना दिए. So this long term wobbles, इसका मतलब होता है in about 26,000 years it completes a full circle. And when it completes a full circle, that is when we find कि ये जो अब जो एरीज है, नया एरीज जो मैं अगर अश्विनी पे देख रहा हूँ तो नाउ ऑलमोस्ट 23 डिग्री और मेरा शिफ्ट हो गया, 30 डिग्री और शिफ्ट हो गया. एंटायर साइन शिफ्ट्स इन अबाउट 25,000 some years. I have approximately taken to 26,000 years because I intend to just give the basics here. There is another thing called nutation. We'll not get into detail here, but precession plus nutation leads to the entire precession of equinoxes. Ayanamsha का जो आता है, this is a small periodic oscillation that happens. थोड़ा हिलता भी है ना जब आपका वो चलता है. This nutation is very important for calculation of the position of moon, for calculation of the position of the nodes as well. उसकी वजह से भी फर्क होता है, और इसका फर्क बहुत ज्यादा होता है न्यूटेशन का फॉर नोड्स. नोडल पीरियड के बराबर न्यूटेशन होता है. So once we discuss the nodes, I'll try to give some more mathematical analysis of this also. This becomes a little mathematically complicated, so I have avoided giving more details here. This is what we have just discussed. The axis traces a cone like a spinning top in approximately 25,772 years. One cycle is done. It happens because of the equatorial bulge that is caused largely because of the sun and the moon, making the earth actually an oblate spheroid rather than a perfect sphere. And this gravitational torque is also contributed of by the gravitational forces of Saturn and Jupiter. Okay, this is what causes it. Now, physical phenomenon, if you think about it, this is your poles. Polaris is the North Star. जैसे ये प्रिसिशन होगा, नया नॉर्थ स्टार मिल जाएगा हमें 26,000 साल में. आप लोगों ने सुना होगा 26,000 साल बाद सप्तऋषि मंडल बदल जाएंगे, because that axis of precision, that axis will have changed a little bit, right? And this is a westward drift that happens. Because of the westward drift that happens, the sidereal zodiac goes behind. It goes behind the tropical zodiac. That happens every year, and that is why sidereal or Nirayan zodiac and सायन zodiac, यहाँ पे जैसे निर्यान बताया है मीन में और हमारा शायन है मेष में, यहाँ उल्टा हो गया. निर्यान मीन में बताया, हमारा पीछे जो हमारा थोड़ा पीछे रहता है ना, वो यहाँ दिखाया है. सो फॉर एग्जांपल, यू सी द ट्रॉपिकल zodiac इज इन एरीज एंड माय sidereal zodiac is in Pisces. ठीक है. दिस Ayanamsha is the accumulated precision. हर साल उतने सेकंड, 50 पॉइंट समथिंग सेकंड्स जो है, एवरी ईयर दैट कीप्स गेटिंग एक्यूमुलेटेड. अब यहाँ आगे देखिए, इसको और समझिए. व्हाट इज हैपनिंग? यू सी हियर, दिस इज द फिक्स्ड स्टार स्पाइका चित्रा. सो चित्रा पक्षी इसलिए बोलते हैं क्योंकि हम यहाँ से गिनते हैं. एवरी ईयर एज इट मूव्स, ये मूव होता है, जितना मूव होता है चित्रा से उतना हम प्रिसिशन कैलकुलेट करते हैं. दिस इज द एरिया दैट इज कवर्ड, एंड फ्रॉम वर्नल इक्विनॉक्स जितना चेंज होता जाता है, दैट इज द एक्यूमुलेटेड प्रिसिशन दैट वी फाइंड आउट. एग्जाम्पल बताया मैंने यहाँ लेफ्ट राइट हैंड साइड में, अयनामशा करंट प्लस इक्वल टू अयनामशा इपॉक प्लस प्रिसिशन रेट इनटू इयर्स पास्ट. 1 January 1990, we assume Ayanamsha is 22 degree 33 minute 38.83. मैंने बस स्टैंड होल्डर अपना नाम लगा दिया, मेरे नाम का कोई अनामशा नहीं है FYI, ठीक है। प्रिसिशन रेट इज 50.278658 seconds per year. Years passed to 2025 from 1 Jan 1990 is 125 years. Accumulated precision is 50.278658 into 125 equal to 62.84.83 seconds equal to 1 degree 44 minute 40.83 seconds. So current Ayanamsha will be previous Ayanamsha plus this equal to 24 degree 18 minute 23.66, which is similar to the calculated value. हमने एक approximate calculation किया. These are the major Ayanamsha that are in vogue. The most correct one, the only correct one is Lahiri, in my opinion, on the basis of some mathematical calculation, and which has been developed further on the work of Sri Sarajit Poddar. We have to add 6 minutes to Lahiri to make it more accurate, which means that what is seen as Lahiri Chitrapaksh currently as 24 degree 13 minute 10.53 seconds, that becomes 24 degree 19 minutes 10.53. That's all. Raman Ayanamsha and other Ayanamshas are not accurate, unfortunately. Pushya Paksha Ayanamsha is a travesty. So those Ayanamshas, though, don't mean anything. They don't have any scientific basis. So that was all from my side from today. I wanted to explain about the different kinds of the different astronomical things, as some basic astronomy that we need to understand to take our discussion forward, because everything that we discuss from now on, when we discuss the nakshatra mandal, it actually develops. Yes, JORA is a very accurate site. You just have to make sure that you don't use the author's settings. You use the settings, you very clearly write Lahiri Chitra Paksha Ayanamsha. That is what is Lahiri, not through Chitra Paksha or anything. Simply Lahiri bracket Chitra Paksha, that is the Ayanamsha that you have to go to, and you will get the right question. So I have seen all the questions. There are no further questions. If the team has any question, you can ask. Else we'll call it a day.
So there's one question, sir, which is any reason why there are 9 planets within the zodiac belt and the 10th and the 11th and beyond are outside of it?
If the solar system has only this many planets, all the planets of the solar system are within the zodiac belt. Then there are other planets, but they don't influence us that much, right? In distant galaxies, there are planets that we see outside of the zodiac belt. But what we are interested in astrology and astronomy, we are interested in what is visible on the from by naked eye in the sky as part of the solar system in the ecliptic. That is what we are looking at. Once that is done, our job is done. उसके बाद तो आकाश में बहुत तारे, एक तारे, अनेक तारे उगाते रहेंगे.
No, but just for better understanding, we still talk about Neptune, Pluto, Uranus within Jyotish.
Everything is within this only. Yeah.
But only these 3 planets or grahas are outside of the zodiac belt, while we still include them in our analysis.
Which 3? No, they are not outside the zodiac belt.
The Neptune, Uranus, and
The zodiac belt.
plus or minus 9 degrees?
They are all within the zodiac belt.
Sure. And the Ayanamsha setting of Lahiri is universally applicable to all forms of all branches of Jyotish.
Everything.
Sure.
If we have to stick to one, stick to either Lahiri or do an offset of plus 6 minutes to Lahiri. Just 6 minutes, not some people. Whenever I have told 6 minutes, कुछ लोगों ने 6 डिग्री कर दिया, तो पूरी कहानी बदल जाएगी. Don't do 6 degree. Just Lahiri plus 6 minutes. That is the offset that is sufficient. Otherwise, just go for Lahiri.
So Lahiri plus 6 minutes is Lahiri Chitra, or
a value was decided for Lahiri, which is Lahiri. Lahore है ना, कुछ नहीं होता, Lahiri होता है. Not all Jyotishis do, but the best of the Jyotishis met after independence. There was a calendrical reform committee, and they agreed that Chitra Paksha Ayanamsha, also called as Lahiri Ayanamsha, is the best Ayanamsha. Why? Because Mr. Lahiri was an old Panchangakar. He was making ephemeris, Lahiri ephemeris, since the 1920s. So some modern astrologers, they go on to say that Lahiri was a stooge of Nehru. He was no stooge of Nehru. He was an extremely learned man, more learned than all the astrologers today who call him a stooge. Okay, he was an excellent astrologer as well as an astronomer and panchangakar, and he and all the major panchangakars actually came by and deposed before the committee. And it was after all the hearings that finally, and it was originally given the recommendation by Ketkar brothers. So that is why it is also called Ketakiya Chitra Paksha Ayanamsha. So in Hindi Panchanga, you will typically find it written as Ketakiya Chitra Paksha Panchanga. Ketkar brothers were master astronomers, originally belonging to Maharashtra and having settled down in Kashi, if I'm not wrong. And they wrote these books. They wrote these books because of which, in Sanskrit, because of which we know a lot. So why the festival dates differ? The festival dates largely differ because of ignorance. One, a lot of people still stick to Surya Siddhant despite knowing fully well that Surya Siddhant doesn't follow the Gregorian any longer. It has long been relegated in terms of utility. Surya Siddhant is no longer correct. Surya Siddhant Gadana. So you have to first do Gadana as per the correct mathematics. Once you do Lahiri, also some people make the wrong thing because the Nirnaya, the decision for most festivals, is given by two texts called Dharma Sindhu and Nirnaya Sindhu. Both the texts are in Sanskrit and there are no good English translations that are available. Because people don't know Sanskrit, especially a lot of modern astrologers, internet astrologers, they go about just spouting any nonsense on the dates. This year, almost everyone celebrated Diwali incorrectly. Thankfully, in Maharashtra, people still follow Dati Panchang. The Panchang cards in other parts of the country also gave the correct date, but in Maharashtra, people celebrated it the right date. Almost everywhere else in the country, they celebrated the wrong day. Why? Very simple. No, as Kali Yuga proceeds, dharma ki hani hogi. It will happen in all these ways. People who are supposed to guide you, they will guide you incorrectly because they themselves have not taken the pains to learn the Shastra the way that it should be learned. That is why there is a mistake. The mathematics is clear. The conclusion was reached way back in the 50s. Even if after 70 years, some people try to find some alternate meaning, some other calculation, it is entirely their choice. Just that they have made a choice doesn't mean that they become correct. They are still wrong. What is correct is first follow the right mathematics, which is Lahiri, Chitra Pakshi, Ketaka, or Ketaki Chitra Pakshi. Some people say there is an appropriation of the name. Why is it not called just Chitra Pakshi but Lahiri? It just became because the most famous ephemeris in India at that point in time, especially in English, was Lahiri ephemeris. That is why the name stuck. But it is Chitra Pakshi. You call it Ketaki Chitra Pakshi, you get it Lahiri Chitra Pakshi, or if your name happens to be Tejas, you can call it Tejasiya Chitra Pakshi. It doesn't matter. As long as it is Chitra Pakshi, it is correct. Okay. So that's all from my side. If there are no further questions, we'll call it a night and then see you again on Thursday. Shall we?
Yes, sir. Sure. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Take care, everyone.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thank you, sir.